Is this on? Here we go. Hey, how are y'all doing? My name is Dr. Ben Tomlinson. I'm the Director of Percussion here at Texas A&M University-Kingsville. We're going to do a quick set change here. There's a couple set changes. We'll try to make them quick, but that's kind of dealing with percussion. You know, you got to deal with moving instruments around, and we have a lot of big instruments, a lot of actually keyboard instruments on stage right now. So this is probably actually the most instruments, at least large instruments that we use. I think we have on stage 6 marimbas and 5 vibraphones, as well as a lot of other drums and stuff. So it's quite a large percussion setup. So they're going to try to move quickly and quietly as I give you a little background about some of the pieces. That first piece was called Sosobala by French composer Emmanuel Sejourné. It's a really groove-based piece, and in my opinion, kind of reminiscent of like Steve Reich's 6 marimbas or something a little bit. I don't know if that was his intention, but it kind of has that vibe a little bit. A lot of hand drums, a lot of really groove-based things where someone will do something for 8 bars and then it'll change and someone else will come in. You saw some other things happen in there, like them when they were like putting their face really close to the bars. They were actually blowing into the resonators to create a pitch, right? They were using their air to do that. You saw some other things like them using their fingers. You saw a lot of bows. For this piece, we actually decided to change some things up. We had some vibraphones on the side so you could really see them bowing at the end. And then also them filtering on the stage one by one and coming off the stage kind of creates a really cool visual experience as well as an oral experience. So that piece is called Sosobala. And they did a really, really great job with it. A lot of really individual demand and so a lot of really cool things happening on stage. That second piece you heard was called Pillar 3 by composer Andy Akio. Andy Akio is actually a percussionist, and he writes really interesting works. I think he's kind of one of the composers that's at the forefront, really popular for people to commission. He's working a lot. But this piece is part of a larger set of pieces called Pillars. And there's 7 of them plus some solo works, and it's intended to be like an evening length experience, but every pillar stands on its own. So this one was called Pillar 3. Andy Akio, as a percussionist, has like a marching band drum corps background too, and I think you see some of that with some of like the splitting stuff that you saw on the vibraphone, where Andres and Raymond were splitting a lot of the vibe notes, and then some splitting between some of the bowls and the wood sounds. You saw Oscar, who was the percussionist on the left with the kick drum and the pipes. That part is almost like a solo percussion part of how hard it is, and he did a really, really great job with that. And he kind of carries a lot of the tune with these pitched pipes that they're playing that we made / bought. And so they do a really, really great job with that. That piece, they kind of layer their entrances and they introduce kind of this idea that slowly but surely gets grown and then split around the ensemble. And it's probably one of the most complex or difficult pieces that we've done here in my time at TAMUK. It's really dense, it's really hard. They did a really fantastic job of that, and I couldn't be more pleased with that. And then this next piece, looks like we're getting close to being set up because we're trying to set up the percussion for the next piece as well. But this piece you see in front of you is actually a keyboard sextet, 3 marimbas, 2 vibes, and then 1 player playing the. This piece is called Ephemera by Francisco Perez. Franco is he is currently the assistant professor of percussion at Lamar University. He is soon to start a new job at Texas A&M College Station, where he will serve as the professor of percussion. From SFA, with my former students at SFA playing it, I wasn't there anymore, but I was here and I heard them play, and I was like, man, this is a really cool piece. It's short, but it's really interesting. And he wrote this, I believe, in 2021 as they were coming out of COVID, and it's supposed to kind of resemble the resilience of his students coming out of COVID and how the challenges that you associated, and how we all went our separate ways, and how do we as percussionists keep playing if we don't have our instruments. And he was really impressed and really inspired by the resilience of his students to get through COVID. And so this piece kind of is inspired by that, and also I think is very hopeful, really, really beautiful. And this is a group of our sophomores, 5 sophomores, 1 freshman. And they've been doing some really, really great work with that, playing with each other, developing chamber music skills. So this is Ephemera by Francisco Perez. There we go. All right, so another quick set change while we get to the next piece. I'll talk about it a little bit. But first, is Domingo Garza here? I know you're here, I see you. Come on up. So for some of our students in our percussion studio, this is actually their last concert with us. Domingo's an exception because Domingo is not in the percussion ensemble this semester because he has a lot of other things that he's doing to get, frankly, to get out of here, which we're so happy that he's going to. But Domingo is our senior music education major. He's been here and been a stalwart member of our percussion ensemble and percussion program. And he gave a beautiful senior recital last week, which I was so proud of. We had a lot of people give, it's been a very busy week in percussion world at TAMUK. We've had 3 recitals, and now we're giving our percussion ensemble program. Domingo comes from Rio Grande City. He went to Rio Grande City High School, and he has been here before I got here. He was here when I interviewed. He was here when my first year here. Teaching Domingo. Domingo has so many interests, and I think that's something that makes him unique as a person and as a musician, and he brings so much to the table beyond just his percussion playing. He is a jazz pianist. He's a composer. He has an interest in conducting. He's actually looking into grad school for composition and conducting. He just can't decide what he likes to do, so he does it all. He's been in a lot of our jazz bands, a lot of our jazz combos. He's actually composed pieces that have been played by our saxophone ensemble here, and it's been really awesome having him. Domingo, as a teacher, you're supposed to learn a lot from students, but I find that I learn just as much from students as, hopefully you may have learned from me or Mr. Fluman. And so, I learned so much from you. You always come in and you have something interesting to say, or something that is completely off the wall that I wasn't expecting at all. I think that I have a lot of memories about Domingo. I was thinking like, man, what, and it was so interesting. It was like one of my first rehearsals here. I made some really stupid, obscure Matrix reference, from 2001, which a lot of these students weren't even born, and it just fell flat on its face. Nobody got it. It was and then I said something, and nobody laughed. I was like, okay, this is great. This is going really great. It's my first year. Nobody's laughing at my jokes. And so then Domingo didn't say anything. He just went, and he sent me the YouTube clip from where it came from, the day later. Didn't say anything. Didn't say, hey, I got that joke. It was just, he just sent me the clip. I understood that reference. Message received. Thank you, Dr. T. That's what it felt like. But I appreciated that in that moment. And I've learned so much from you, and I'm really excited to see what you do in the future when you student teach in the spring, whatever you do after. So thank you for trusting us, thank you for choosing TAMUK, and thank you for being part of our percussion program. And we have 2 other seniors. I'm not going to do them. I'm going to cycle through them as the concert goes on. But we all good back there? We'll fix that later. But let me talk about this next piece. This is called Fidget by Nathan Daughtry. This piece is another group of our freshmen and sophomores here. And it's been really awesome to work with these students. This is a really hard piece. This was commissioned by a group of schools. And it's kind of based around this rhythmic motive that you'll hear all over the piece. But it's also, the vertical alignment in this piece is incredibly challenging. There's 4/3 polyrhythms everywhere, often between players. The percussion parts are especially hard. There's some solos in there. The keyboard parts are really hard, sometimes very exposed. And this has been a good challenge for them, but I've been really happy with their progress on it. So this is Fidget by Nathan Daughtry. So we're going to do another set change, yet another set change. This next piece is an arrangement by choral arrangement by Eric. It's a choral piece by Eric Whitaker, rearranged for marimba quartet, and we just decided to, I think, triple everything, and so we're going to have 6 marimbas on stage. And so it's arranged for marimba quartet. We're going to do it with a lot more than that. And this is a beautiful piece that I think fits really well for this ensemble. But also, more than that, something that's really great about TAMUK is that we train a lot of future music educators. They get a really fine education from this school, from all the faculty, the conducting faculty, the applied faculty, the history, theory faculty. Everybody is really committed towards training the next wave of music educators. And so we have so many fine students coming out of here. So I thought this would be a great piece to let another one of our seniors that's going to be student teaching in the spring, Christopher Sides. He's actually been basically working on this by himself with a little input from me, but he runs the rehearsals, he's been conducting them, he's been doing everything. So I thought this would be a really, really great opportunity for Chris to work with a student group and conduct them. Chris, like Domingo, will also be student teaching in the spring. Another student we're really proud of that you're going to hear from later. But I thought this would be a fantastic opportunity to let him flex his conducting chops a little bit, to kind of show what he's learned, but also get a little bit of experience before he student teaches. So again, he's been doing most of this. I've been there monitoring the rehearsals, helping him out, giving him my thoughts and on how do you get the most out of your players, running the rehearsal, conducting, all that, shaping this piece, working with the personnel. So it's been really great. So as you can see here, there's quite a few people on stage. Something that we're really proud of here at TAMUK is we have such fine to have 14 percussion freshmen join us this fall. So this features a lot of them, as well as many other of our fine music ed sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So I think we're about ready to go. So this is Luxor Rumque by Eric Whitaker, rearranged for marimba. Okay, so this last two pieces on our program, this should be the last set change, I promise. So this we're going to hear, it's called Slopes by Paul Rennick. Paul Rennick is a professor of percussion at University of North Texas. He is also famous for working with a lot of successful groups at the DCI level, Phantom Regiment, Santa Clara Vanguard currently. And so he's a really well-known designer, arranger, also teacher. And so when we were putting together one of our graduate student, Raymond Petez's recital, which he gave last week, I was thinking like, man, what would really be great to put on his recital? And Raymond is a great player overall, but Raymond has hands. He's got snare hands, and he sounds great. And he came in that way. Raymond's a graduate student. He came in that way. Frankly, his snare drum playing has very little to do with me, and I'm comfortable admitting that, but Raymond absolutely has snare hands, which is a great thing. He's got chops, and I'll talk about him a little bit later. But this piece is called Slopes, and it's actually about skiing, like on the slopes. But it features Raymond as a snare drum soloist, but also has three percussionists backing him up. So the cascading rhythms and the drums are supposed to represent like the skiing, the slopes going down the slope. So it's a really fun and wild piece. So they'll get that going. But before we do that, I actually want to get Chris Stuber-Sides up here. Keep talking about, so Chris, this is, like Domingo, this is Chris's last semester in the percussion studio, but also his last percussion ensemble concert that he's playing. Chris, come on up here, you can set that up later. that is just like Chris, though. He always gets his stuff done, he always takes care of everything, and that's something I really admire about Chris. Chris is from League City. Chris went to Clear Springs, not one of the other million Clear schools there are in Houston. So he hails from south of Houston. He's a music ed major, and he's an integral part of what we do and what we've been able to do in the past 3 years. He's played in all our top ensembles. He's served, he's been in the, was on the Javelina March Band bass line for years and years and helped serve as a leadership figure in that. And there's a lot of things I respect and admire about Chris, but more so, I never, ever, ever, ever have to worry about Chris about anything. And you know, I can let Chris know how it is in a lesson, and he'll always come back stronger. He always takes care of everything that he needs to do. He is incredibly motivated, and the past 6 months, I don't think I've seen anybody work harder in the studio as he prepared for his senior recital. And a lot of students don't know this, but we as professors see who comes and goes, and Chris is always here practicing. He was always shedding his parts, and he traveled a long, long, long way in the last 6 months. Chris also has the distinct pleasure of being probably the very first person that I ever heard here at TAMUK. On my interview here, he played a vibraphone piece that I was able to teach and kind of work with him in 10 minutes, and so he has the distinct possibility of that. So I think back, that was the first time I ever heard you, Chris. It was terrifying for me as well. And, but, you know, it was really easy to work with you, and from then, I could tell how far you could go. So thank you, Chris, so much. I really appreciate everything you've done for us. I'm really excited to see where you'll go. And now Raymond Perez is going to take it away. All right. So we have one more student this is his last semester here at TAMUK, and that's Raymond Perez. Raymond, you want to come up? You just heard rip on snare drum. So Raymond is a grad student. Raymond came to me, the first thing I ever heard about Raymond was there's this guy named Gabe who was in our percussion studio when I first got here. And Gabe said, there's one of my friends is like kind of interested in coming back for a master's degree. And I said, okay, that's cool. And then I met Raymond at a competition. And he was there, and we spoke a little bit, and then he's like, I really want to come do a graduate degree. I want to come back to school. And so I said, great. And so then we arranged an audition. And Raymond came in, and he played well. But he came in at a time where I think the percussion studio really needed him. And I thank my stars every day that Raymond came in when he did, because we had just lost some people that were doing a lot for the percussion studio, and he came in and just instantly took that. And he helped me a lot in that. But other than that, Raymond is kind of like having, we have, I'm here, we have Professor Zavala, who's one of our fantastic percussion faculty here. He's kind of like a third faculty member here on campus. And he really runs things and helps help run the undergrads, the gaggle of undergrads that we have here. I ask him to do something, he instantly does it. Yes, sir, and he does it, and he's incredible at that. And he does it exactly the way, I don't even know what to tell him. He just does it the way that I would do it. He's like a third faculty member. He's also helped with our Javelina marching band, serving as a tech. He's been principal soloist. In the spring, he conducted or helped coach the ensemble. And so Raymond is one of the best students I've ever taught. He's trustworthy, he is helpful, but he's also a great musician and has grown so much over the past 2 years. And I learned so much from you. I've never heard Raymond complain, ever. I've never heard him make excuses, ever. And almost every day, he blows me away. And I'm just so impressed by you. And I thank you so much for coming back. He gave a recital last week where I think he truly transcended into becoming a true artist musician. He played some really challenging rep, and he is not the same player he was when he came here 2 years ago. And he thinks about music differently, and thank you, Raymond. This last piece, Appalachian Morning, is a great closer. It features a ton of people. It features, it's a fun piece. It's a difficult piece. It's easy to listen to. It's fun, but it's also got some really, really big, great moments in it. It's a large ensemble. Primarily keyboards. We have some percussion in the back. We have a drum set player. We have one of our own percussionists playing bass, Jeremy. Wave, Jeremy. One of the things that's awesome about here is this has kind of happened since I've been here is that we have a lot of students who are multi-instrumentalists, like Andres is a guitar player, also plays bass, Jeremy plays bass, Domingo plays piano, and there's a lot of people that do a lot of different things. And so when I was like, hey, I need a bass player, I was like, Jeremy's here. And so this is a groovy piece. This is a Appalachian Morning. It was first composed by Paul Halley for the Paul Winter Consort. Rearranged when I actually did the premiere of this piece at Florida State a few years ago, and it's become very, very popular. So I'm gonna stand in front of the group, but I'm not gonna really conduct them. They kind of play themselves down. So this is our final piece. Thank you so much for being here. There's a lot of things to do on a Sunday afternoon, and you chose to be here and listen to some great percussion music. So thank you so much for being here. We do one of these every year towards the end of the semester, but there's also a lot of other great concerts going on. So I hope you attend one of our other great music events at TAMUK. So again, this is Appalachian Morning by Paul Haley, arranged by Omar Carmenadas.